Brian Smith, publisher of Inside the Knights, powered by Fan Nation and Sports Illustrated. I'm here to talk a little bit about UCF's situation at quarterback. Obviously, there's going to be a change with Dillon Gabriel announcing on social media yesterday that he has a broken clavicle. This is a very common injury with quarterbacks. They obviously get hit from awkward positions. And unfortunately, this is not an injury that there is a dead set time frame, nor is there a dead set opportunity to guess who the next quarterback is. So I'm going to talk about each of those in succession. First off, the game at Louisville went up. It was a tremendous game, one of the best games I've ever been a part of in terms of just entertainment and the ability to watch two teams really go at it. I was shocked at just how good both quarterbacks played during what I like to call money balls, throwing the ball down the field. I mean, second play for Dillon, he throws a dime to Ryan O'Keefe for the touchdown. Those are kinds of plays that make coaches look good. And Malik Cunningham played well too. Great game going back and forth. Of course, at the end on the lateral, Dillon was injured on the final play, and he announced again that he is going to be out. This injury, just from my experience dealing with other quarterbacks, schools across the country for a better part of 30 years, is annoying because of the following reason. I'm not going to go into a specific player or whatever, because I don't think they really want their medical stuff out there. But that being stated, the following is very important to note. It is an injury that is reoccurring with a lot of people, and or it takes longer for other people. There's no dead set time frame. The worst case scenario is one from a guy I know. He had a broken clavicle, came back, thought he was ready. Just at practice, he goes back and he throws. He broke it again just throwing, non-contact. That's my concern for Dillon. It's just random. How well his body heals is just about Dillon. Doctors can only project so much with this. I'm unfortunately not a doctor anyway, so it's not going to help very much. I just know that Dillon is in a position to be an NFL quarterback one day, so I hope that he is healthy, and maybe he can return this year, maybe he doesn't. But with that, UCF has to approach the rest of the 2021 season as if Dillon is not going to play again, period, not going to play at all. And the reason you do that is it's a bonus if he can. We just don't know. Coach Malzahn, Coach Keene, etc., they don't know. And being the guys that lead the offense, that's kind of an important deal because it's by far the most important position in football and probably in all of sport. So who are the options for the Knights? They have two prime options, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. And both of them are inexperienced as it relates to UCF, but I have reason to believe that both of them could be successful. So hear me out. The first guy is Mikey Keene. He's from Chandler, Arizona, and he is a true freshman. I was very skeptical. He's not a big guy. Watched him throw a little bit in practice. Very natural. He reminds you of a kid that would play second base, shortstop, or center field in baseball. He's just a ball player. And I am quite confident in saying that he reminds me in some ways, be very careful how you take the following, of a certain player that is now at Florida State that once played for the Knights. Of course, that is McKenzie Milton. He creates plays and does things from an ad-lib perspective that one cannot teach. I'm not saying he is McKenzie Milton. I'm trying to be very clear here. It's just that path that he's very capable of creating something when he has two guys around him, and then all of a sudden he makes the miss, shuffles outside the pocket, and he might shovel past something to a running back and get 6 yards. So it's 2nd and 4 instead of 2nd and 16. Those plays matter in today's college football more than ever because the other team's going to score. If you don't punch out 30-plus points a game, you have little to no shot. And oftentimes, even with really talented players, if you don't drop 40, if you're playing a quality opponent, you're not going to win. This is not my opinion. This is Nick Saban's opinion. And I happen to agree with it anyway. But if Nick says that, being a defensive guy, that puts it in perspective. You have to put points on the board. Your quarterback must be dynamic in multiple ways. Keene can do that. The question is, A, can he hold up? He's 180 pounds soaking wet. He's not a big guy. He's like Gabriel. And B, how much of the offense has he already absorbed? That's a big question. We don't know the answer to that yet. And hopefully, although it's just been a situation where he's a young man that's been here this year, he can at least get a dumbed down portion of the playbook and make it work. For him to be successful, though, just like any offense, there's one key component. and that's the offensive line. Mikey Keene will be in a very good position because UCF's offensive line is flat out, unequivocally better than most, maybe not all, of the major college football offensive lines. Let me give you a couple examples. Last year, arguably the best line in the country was Notre Dame. They lost a lot of guys. I'm not saying this line is quite as good as last year's Notre Dame line, but it's dang close. And the reason is they're balanced in pass protection and run protection. It's hard to do both. Usually a team's good at one or the other. They're pretty good at both. And keep in mind, UCF didn't even play their starting center this past week, and they adapted. Cole Schneider did a heck of a job playing center. When you snap, that's a concern for the quarterback, for the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, etc. How's it going to adjust, or how's my quarterback going to adjust to the new guy at center? Cole did a great job. UCF scored 20 points, so that's not an issue. Number two, the offensive line has to do something else that every quarterback, regardless of experience, loves. The running game. How much of a running game do you have? If you do not have a great running game, do you have the ability just to throw it 75% of the time and score? Not many teams do. Some can, but I mean, outside of like what the University of Florida did last year, that's an exception. You had a guy that was in the Heisman race. He was throwing so well. And for whatever reason, the Gators couldn't run the ball last year. So they just threw it 70% of the time. Hey, they were still dropping 40, so that's okay. But that's the exception, not the rule. Are you going to be able to do that with a freshman quarterback? Not very likely. On top of that, there are other injuries we don't know about. Bowser's banged up. We have a situation. Jalen is banged up. He missed part of the game. What their injuries are, how long they're out. Much like with Dillon Gabriel, the UCF coaching staff has to look at it from a very specific perspective. They're not going to play, or at most, they're going to be limited. The reason you do that, again, best case scenario, they come back early. It's a bonus for us. UCF does not have that luxury to be thinking everything's going to be hunky-dory. They have to look at it from how do we protect our quarterback, play through our defense and special teams, and make it work that way. Here's the other aspect of it. With the situation with Bowser, it was shocking to me watching UCF's offensive line, and it's why I brought this up altogether. Just beat the crap out of Louisville up front. They ran for 200 yards. The play calling was tremendous. I'll give them credit, especially when Johnny got in the game. Man, he is a lightning bolt. Not a big guy, but goodness, he is quick. He hits that second level. It is really hard for a college linebacker, even a really good one that might have a professional career ahead of him, to get a solid hit on that guy. He is electric. We're talking Florida State, 1995, first string tailback kind of guy. And he wasn't even UCF's starter. If you look at him and you say, okay, well, we still need something else. Mark Anthony Richard, and they got Trillion Coles. This team is loaded at running back. They got some young guys. Mr. Williams, I'm still thinking he's going to get a play at some point this year. We'll see. Anthony Williams. And they have guys. The running game is going to be featured more. The only asterisk that I want to put by it, because of the situation at quarterback being kind of iffy with just not knowing how much he's going to be able to absorb, assuming Keene is the guy. I'll get along to point two with the second possible quarterback in a moment. Can he run option? And I mean like the true form of it, at least once or twice a game, because that changes what a defense does. And that also gives a guy like Johnny a chance to be on the perimeter with a running head start on a basic pitch. You run speed option and Johnny gets the ball outside. Good luck to the guy. I don't care what position he is, how good he is. One-on-one. Once he turns that corner and he faces up with somebody and you have to tackle him, Johnny Richardson is a nightmare. And that's not to say that the other ones aren't too, but I just know from playing football, I played corner when I was younger, you don't want a big guy running over you. I get that. But there's nothing worse than being flat out embarrassed because a guy made you miss so bad you physically didn't make contact. Johnny Richardson can do that. So little things like that. And they're going to run read option. There's a difference. But I mean, true option football. I wouldn't be surprised if Keene ran a little of that. He's just a natural athlete. So keep that in mind. Point two. If UCF is going to change their offense a little bit and go to what Gus Malzahn traditionally does, the player that he originally recruited to Auburn, who transferred to Kentucky and is now subsequently transferred to UCF, is Joey Gatewood. He played a little bit against Louisville. Big boy, 6'4", 6'5", 220, 230, and just a freak athlete. He hasn't figured out the passing game yet, or he still would have been at Auburn or Kentucky. There's no doubt in my mind. He's got to get better at that. And that's not the arm strength and all that. That's good to go. Figuring out coverages. He's going to see every type of complex zone and post-snap, very key point here, post-snap zone defense you can throw at him, because athletically you're not going to take him out. He is an NFL player physically. It's not even debatable. If Joey's going to be the starter or is going to be a complement package to Keene, I have no idea which one it's going to be yet. The Knights don't play this coming weekend, thank goodness. Then they have Navy the next weekend. I'll dive into that a little bit more on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Start talking a little bit about the midshipmen, because they present humongous problems for UCF's defense, and it depends how I approach that show is going to depend on the injury situation with Ricky Barber. He was banged up as well, because Navy runs the triple option, and no team in college football likes playing. I'll just be blunt. Defensive linemen in particular, because they cut block and they eat up the clock. You don't get as many possessions. Your quarterback cannot give away possessions. So we're going to have to wait on a little bit to really dive into the Navy thing. But it's a very high likelihood that at least one of them will be substituted in for whoever the starter is. And again, I have no idea if it's going to be Keene or Gatewood. But with Gatewood, there's a very important category for him, and that's comfort with what Gus does. He's been in his offense before. He was a redshirt there his first year. Then he transferred to Kentucky, and now he is at UCF. I don't think that he's going to suddenly be dynamic in the passing game. Again, he would have won the starting job at Kentucky. He probably would have won the starting job at Auburn. You can't teach his physical skill, but they can just make basic adjustments and do things with him that make him a very talented player and make his teammates better at the same time. I think they're going to throw some waggle and some bootlegs throughout to Alec in the flat at the tight end position, 5 yards, 2nd and 5. Read option next play. Obviously, as we just heard, there's plenty of talent at running back. If it's there, give the ball to the guy that's running back at that particular time. They've got plenty of them. Then third, when plays break down, if you want to see a guy make a highlight reel play, Gatewood is your dude. Just absolutely, unequivocally, he has the ability to throw you to the ground, to run through you, to juke you, to do a little of both, and then he can hit it once he gets around the corner. If there's a bust, he can run it to the end zone. He is a flex tight end playing quarterback. That's probably the best way to define him. He's just a little bit shy. If you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you'll really recognize this. Chase Claypool played at Notre Dame and now is with the Steelers. He's like 235, 230. Gatewood is almost the exact same build as Chase Claypool, but he's playing quarterback, and he's still in college. You are not going to bring him down in the open field very much. So Gus Malzahn's offense is best with a running quarterback. G.J. Kinney, the quarterback coach, knows this too, and he's worked with these kind of guys. This is a great fit. At the end of the day, it's on Joey, as much as I don't like to put it on players. Those two guys know offense. They're tremendous at it. There's a reason that Gus hired G.J. to be his co-coordinator and quarterback coach. He could have hired a lot of guys. If we're being around G.J., I can tell you he's super intelligent. They're going to find little things for him to do, regardless if he's a starter or in the package, red zone, whatever it is, that make it easier for him. It will be up to GJ to make a specific call here or there on a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. I'll give you that. But overall, it's on Joey Gatewood to get over the top, because this is a golden ticket a year early to be the man at UCF. God gave him abilities that one cannot teach. It is time for Joey Gatewood to take the next step and develop as a quarterback in UCF's offensive scheme. He knows it for the most part. He's been a part of it already. It's a good sign that he adapted quickly enough that he's played in 2 games already. Now the final step is, okay, I'm the man. This is my job. If he lets Keene beat him out immediately, that's one thing, because Keene's been through the whole summer and fall and all that. I get it. But by games 2 or 3 from now, if Joey's not taking 80% of the snaps or more, I will be personally disappointed. He has the highest ceiling by a landslide because of his physical physique. You just cannot teach it. I was oddly enough, fortunate enough to bump into Joey a few months back, his old high school, Bartram Trail in the Jacksonville, Florida area. Had a spring game and I went to it. They were playing Lake City, Columbia. Both teams have a lot of prospects. I want to check it out. Joey showed up. I introduced myself, spoke to him for a while. Very engaging young man, very intelligent, very, very polite and humble. Well, that humble needs to go out the window for now. He needs to demand of himself to be the man. It is on you. There's no way around it. You are the better player physically. Now you got to take your next step. I'm not taking away from Keene, but he's a freshman and he doesn't have the same physical abilities in terms of running. He's a pretty good athlete, but he's not going to just run through a linebacker the way Joey can. I mean, he's a beast. On top of that, his arm strength and all that are all there. It's going to be from the shoulder to the top of the head that determines what Joey does. He needs to figure out these schemes. They are going to zone him to death. They're not going to give him 50-50 balls or he can just throw it up. I mean, UCF's receivers are ridiculously talented. We all know that. Brandon Johnson, et cetera, et cetera. They can go get it. What they have to do is they have to find ways to give him some easy looks because teams are going to run cover 3, drop the safety into the hole. They call it rat in the hole. They're going to do all kinds of things, and they're going to do it after the snap. They're going to make his mind spin. There's no way around it because man-to-man coverage, if he gets outside, then he can just run down the field because the corner's gone. They're going to play cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, and they're going to mix it up. If he figures that out, UCF's still going to score 35 a game. Mark it down. If he doesn't figure it out, they'll be in the mid-20s with 2 and 3 turnovers a game. One of them could be a pick 6 because he didn't read the corner out here right. And he drops down and he takes a flat pass and he goes, whoop, and he takes it the other direction. You cannot have that. We saw what the result of the pick 6 is at the end of the Louisville game. It's just true. That was a fluke play, and you know who you want to blame, I don't know. Pass wasn't perfect by any means. Amari probably should have done a better job, but it happens. Those plays change games at any point. That just happened to be with 13 seconds left in the game when the play was concluded. I'm just saying if that happens in the first quarter, second, third, or fourth, Joey can't have those. That's my only concern with him being quarterback. He's so gifted. Why hasn't he started yet? You have to prove it. So that's going to wrap it up for this edition. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do. We're not going to have much, if any, media access to coaches this week. You know, I from talking to the sports information department right after the game when Gus was done, and the players, Sam and some of them came up, and then Sam and Brandon did the post-conference press conference, and they were both great, by the way. They represented UCF very well in a difficult moment. I want to mention that. They were both great. But we don't know what's going to be accessible. We don't know about injuries. They're going to be random. You'll check out my Twitter handle or the site that's scrolling on the bottom of the screen here and find out. I'll know pretty much when you do. As soon as I get it, I'll tweet it. It's that simple. It is what it is. The injury bug just destroyed UCF in this last game, and we're all waiting. I can't even do some of the podcasts I want because I have to know the definitive information about injuries, and I don't have it. I mean, I'm waiting on like 3-4 stories, and I simply cannot write them until I know it. It's tough, but that's football. So UCF has to find a way to adjust. They came out short at Louisville in an incredible game, but it is what it is. So anyway, everybody have a wonderful Sunday. I appreciate it. Everybody be good. I will talk to you soon.